I'm Nicholas Balsi here in Washington at the Freedom Summit with Vernon Jones, Representative Vernon Jones. Thanks for taking some time to speak here.
Thank you.
So I wanted to start by asking you about your support for President Trump and kind of how your life as a legislator has changed since coming out in support of the president. What's the most standout moment for you in terms of how your life as a legislator has changed since then?
Actually, I have terrified the liberals. I have terrified the Democratic Party, the left part of the party, because African American votes, for the most part, has always been a captive audience, at least in their mind, that they would automatically get that vote. Just like when Joe Biden said, if you don't vote for him, you ain't black. Well, first of all, that was offensive when he tried to talk, I guess, jive talk. You ain't. Secondly, to think that they automatically have my vote because I'm black, that showed the naivety on their part. There are a lot of African Americans who are beginning to wake up, and they're looking past Democrat. They're looking who give them the best bang for their buck. President Trump has done more in the past 3.5 years than Joe Biden and the Democratic Party has in the last 40 years as it relates to job employment, working with small businesses and big businesses, getting this economy humming. There's record numbers that he broke, but also specifically in the African American community. I went to HBCU, North Carolina Central University. What he's done to restore funding previously cut and now to write it into the law, that was a big deal. Prison reform, the First Step Act, where Joe Biden wrote the crime bill. The crime didn't match the time, and people had these egregious sentences. Black men and women were taken away from their family. A whole generation was destroyed. With the First Step Act, it's giving those nonviolent offenders a second chance on life, where they can become productive citizens. They can work, pay taxes, and be reunited with their family. And so this president is about results, and he's about helping everybody. There's no race, no gender, or anybody left behind on his administration. He's helping everybody.
So what do you make of what the national Democrats are saying now, heading into the election, that President Trump is at fault for how the pandemic's been going in terms of the economy not growing fast, and the pandemic's still hurting people? How do you respond to that when you hear that on the campaign trail from Democrats and from Biden himself?
Joe Biden and the Democratic Party and Democrats nationally cannot beat Donald Trump on his record. They are hoping this economy fails. They want to see this COVID virus continue to spread. They don't want to open businesses. They want to see the looting and the burning. They don't want the National Guard and the president to send in federal agents to help calm and save these businesses and communities and people's lives. They're feeding on that. Not a single time has the Democratic Party condemned any of those violent actions. And so that's what they're banking on, because they can't beat him on his record. But it's going to backfire on them, because the American people are looking for elected officials like this president that gets results, that can lead, that they have confidence in. And this president's going to get us through this COVID virus, and this president will get us back humming the way we were prior to the pandemic.
Do you think their message is resonating, though, with people in states like Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, when it comes to, hey, we're taking public health seriously, Biden's in the basement, he's not doing that many rallies, or he's not doing any rallies, he's not doing really any public events, and then President Trump, they're kind of trying to illustrate the picture that he's not taking it as serious. He cares more about the money and the economy. Do you think that's sticking, that argument?
Well, first of all, Joe Biden is in his basement. You can't lead from your basement. He only comes out to friendly media, and he really doesn't take any questions, then he runs back in. This president is hitting it head on. He's dealing with the issues. No other president has ever had to deal with this. And he's striking a balance between, we have to get this economy up and going and get people back to work, because people have lost their businesses. Some of them will never recover. But at the same time, he's listening to the scientists, although things change from time to time. But this president has struck a good balance between getting this economy back working again, public safety, listening to the appropriate people, and moving us forward. I'll say this about the polls. The climate now, the political climate now, is almost an infringement upon the First Amendment. You cannot express who you're for anymore politically, or you lose your job or you be attacked. I think many white people want to say, I'm for Donald Trump, but they don't want to be called a racist. Many black people want to say, I'm for Donald Trump, but they don't want to be called a Republican, or they don't want to be called, or they don't want to be called out by their party as traitors. And so, but just like before, when they laughed at Trump, and when you look at where the poll was with Hillary Clinton during this time, everybody said it was a slam dunk for her. But who's the president of the United States? Because people quietly went there, and they knew the true leader. And they were ready for something else, someone who was going to get some results. And Donald Trump has answered that call.
Something that's gaining a lot of steam, you've probably heard about it in the House, is studying the issue of reparations. And Biden's come out and said he supports the commission to actually study reparations for African American descendants due to the damages of slavery. What do you think about that? Is that a good idea to go down that route and study the issue?
Well, first of all, if they study the issue of reparations, a lot of white people are going to be or should receive reparations because we all intertwine and intermingle now. But that is no more than paralysis of analysis. What we need to do is go forward. If anything, truth and reconciliation. We can all say, hey, you know what? That was a bad part of our country. That was the biggest sin. However, we're moving forward. And how do we move forward? By creating opportunities for people to open businesses, to be gainfully employed, to achieve the American dream. That's what they want. It's too late for 40 acres and a mule. Nobody's looking for that. What people are looking for is access to the American dream. If you open those doors, that is reparation, and everybody can benefit from those reparations. Everybody.
Can you expand on that a little bit? You were talking about how white and African Americans are mixed so much now. Could you expand on that? Are you saying it would just be difficult to implement?
Well, what's the common denominator? Actually, now I'm going to say something probably people want to probably take issue with it. But let's start with Africa in terms of reparations. That's where we were sold from. As a matter of fact, we need to have a conversation with Africa for African Americans. That's where we came from. That's where we were sold from. So if we're going to really do this, let's go back to where it started. And let's see whose fingers are really on this and go from there. But we just can't willy-nilly. We're just going to do it based on DNA tests. How are you going to do it? It's all right to talk about it, but do I think there's an injustice done to blacks in this country? Absolutely, including my father, who was a World War II veteran, who was not treated fairly, but he loved this country, still the best country on earth. However, let's look at, if we want to look at reparations, let's look at it in the form of giving people opportunities, making sure our children are educated so they can compete globally, making sure if anybody wants to be able to be a homeowner or someone wants to start their own business, let's make those reparations. And that way it's colorblind, it's gender blind, and people have opportunities. People don't want things given to them. They want to be able to earn it, but you have to make it available for them. So with hard work and perseverance, that they can achieve it. That's really what it's about. That's the true reparations.
Well, I've asked some Democrat lawmakers about this commission, and then I say, well, how would you implement it? Which kind of what you were saying just now. How would you actually go about it? Oh, well, that's up to the commission. So it looks like this commission will pass, and then they're going to make recommendations on restoring or putting forward restitution.
One thing about it, commissions make recommendations. It's going to be left up ultimately to the policymakers who, if there's going to be any monetary value, who's going to appropriate the funds. But if we're going to do this whole reparation thing, then let's look at changing the name of the Democratic Party. Let's make that a part of reparations. Why? The Democratic Party, most of them were Confederates who fought, who did not want slaves to be free. The Democratic Party started the Ku Klux, or members of the Democratic Party started the Ku Klux Klan. Margaret Sanger, a Democrat, who said that African Americans were intellectually just dysfunctional and defected, and she went out to sterilize and have as many abortions as she could to literally genocide a whole black community if it were left up to her. Let's look at most Democrats did not vote for the Civil Rights Act or the Voters' Rights Act, and then you have Joe Biden in modern day saying that if you don't vote for him, you ain't black. So let's start with changing the Democratic Party. Let's look into Nancy Pelosi's background, see if she has some relatives. And if she has some relatives that are Confederately connected, then let's ask her to step down from being the Speaker of the House. I mean, if we're going to do all that. See, that's why I'll say it like this. The reason why the windshield is bigger than the rearview mirror is where you go and it counts, not where you came from. You can occasionally look in the back, but if you look back too long, you're going to run in the ditch. Let's go forward. Let's go forward with something that everybody can buy into that will help our children and our children's children.
Are you thinking of changing parties personally?
Right now I'm content, and we're pulling off that white sheet and showing the bigotry of the Democratic Party, how they treat African Americans, how they take us for granted. At the same time, if we're independent thinkers, we don't get the same pass as a white Democrat who may have conservative leanings. They get a pass. They're not told that they're embarrassment to the party, or they don't belong to the party, or they don't share the party's values. I don't think that's where I am right now. Where I am right now is fixing where I am. I don't enjoy doing it, but it's the truth. And that's what really needs to be discussed. The Democratic Party needs to re-examine itself and its history of slavery and bigotry up until now, which I'm a product of their current day bigotry, because I decided to execute my independent rights, freedom of expression, who I want to support, based on policy, not based on party. I put my country first, based on policy. And they know that this president is far better than Joe Biden. Joe Biden's had 49 years, and he hasn't done it yet. He can't do it. He's what I call the if president. If he get elected, he's going to do this. If he gets elected, he's going to do that. Well, he's had 49 years, hadn't done anything. This president, President Trump, has had 3.5 years, and let me tell you, he has moved the ball in terms of this country and where we are. And our perception around the world, that we have a president now that's not taking any crap. They're going to have to pay their fair share. America's not going to be taken advantage of. China knows it. Russia knows it. Canada knows it. So does Mexico and all the others. The NATO knows it. WHO knows it, that this president is very serious, and you cannot pull the wool over his eyes. That's what I like about this president.